Hey everyone, Spuffles here as Monami from Super Danganronpa 2. I just wanted to thank you guys so much for the overwhelming response and support that I got for my chronic illness disease vlog. It means so much to me that I touched so many of you guys with my experiences. I am going to continue talking about chronic illness today and talking about my personal experiences with Crohn's disease before I was diagnosed by a doctor. If you're interested, please feel free to continue watching. If not, then I will see you in my next cosplay video. I just wanted to do a little disclaimer before I start my story. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a physician, so if you are suffering from any of the same things that I was suffering from, please see your doctor, because I cannot diagnose you, the internet cannot diagnose you, only a trained professional can diagnose your condition. So please consider going to the doctor if you have any of these symptoms. If not, then I guess you'll be good. But anyways, I'm going to start with my story. My story actually begins a few years before I was diagnosed. I kind of had an aversion to the doctor because after I started college, I was pretty healthy. Pretty much the only medication I was taking was like Tylenol and ibuprofen for my period pains. So a lot of girls my age have period pains, so it's a pretty common thing. Other than that, I was pretty healthy. When I was in college, I didn't really go to the doctor that much. I didn't have my yearly checkups, mostly because after I turned 18, you have to go from the pediatrician to the regular doctor, and I didn't have a regular doctor, so I was like, I'm not really sick. Should I go to the doctor? I'll put it off for a while. I eventually did go to a doctor after I turned 20 years old, so that was 2 years that I didn't go to the doctor between, when I couldn't go to the pediatrician and actually seeing a doctor again. When I went to that doctor, basically they were like, oh, you're 20 years old, you're healthy. They basically asked me why I even bothered to see them. Why did I bother to have a yearly checkup? So that kind of put me off, and it gave me an aversion to them. I have not been back to that doctor since then, because I think any doctor who looks at you and who's like, you're healthy, you don't need to come in for a yearly checkup, you're only 20 years old, you're only 20 something years old, why do you feel the need to go to a doctor? And it just kind of put me off. And also we were changing insurances at the time, so I didn't really go to the doctor that much. I didn't have much issue until I was 22, and since we switched insurances, I got a new birth control pill, and it has been shown in some studies that people who have family history like me of Crohn's disease and they're on a certain oral contraceptive, birth control, and it can cause their risk of Crohn's disease to triple essentially. And I was on the pill for since I was 21, so I didn't have any problems with my first birth control pill, but then as soon as I switched, I had some troubles. But silly me, I thought, oh yeah, it's probably nothing, it'll go away. I basically started having chronic fatigue. I would have lots and lots of diarrhea that had blood in it. I thought that eventually it would go away by itself, but it didn't. I ended up losing 15 pounds. It might not seem like that much, but because I have a fairly small frame, 15 pounds was a lot to me. Basically back when I was in middle school and high school, I was 115 pounds, and when I went to college, I started working out, I gained some weight. I was at 130 pounds, and then I went back to 115, and I have to admit, back in high school I didn't eat as much as I should have, so I was a little bit anorexic. So basically being at the same weight that I was when I was anorexic back in high school, it was kind of really alarming. But at the same time, I was scared because, I didn't really have a doctor because, the last doctor I went to was under Aetna insurance. We didn't have Aetna anymore. We had a different insurance, and I was like, oh man, what am I gonna do? And I was really scared because, I had my fatigue, I had the diarrhea, and for me personally, it was not just diarrhea, it was the fact that it was uncontrollable. So I was very embarrassed, and it was very hard for me to go out and meet friends because, we don't like talking about Crohn's disease because, people don't usually talk about their bathroom habits, but if you have a disease like this, you just learn to talk about that kind of stuff. I'm sorry if I'm grossing you guys out. I just want to talk about, my symptoms. And that was what was happening to me. So I was really scared. I was like, oh my God, I have no idea what I have. And, after about 6 months, because I was dumb and I waited 6 months, I was like, all right, I definitely have to go to the doctor. Part of me was scared to go to the doctor because I was like, oh, what if they don't take me seriously? Because, now that I have Crohn's and I go on like the Crohn's websites and like forums and support groups, there are people who don't get diagnosed for years because their doctors think that it's just IBS, which is irritable bowel syndrome, and they don't take them seriously that, you have a lot of fatigue and you have a lot of pain and cramping and everything. And some doctors are just like, oh yeah, it's just irritable bowel syndrome, it's just because of your diet, you can like change that. And like Crohn's, it's an autoimmune disease, which means your immune system can't differentiate between you, like your cells, and between invader cells. So what your immune system does is it attacks your own cells, so your body is attacking itself. So safe to say that it kind of messes up your insides, and that's why you get bleeding and all of the other, bad things that happen when you have Crohn's. So, I was really scared. I was like, oh man, like, I have to go back to the doctor, but I haven't been to the doctor in so long. What are they going to think of me? I finally went to my physician, and then they recommended, a gastroenterologist who would do the colonoscopy for me, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna get this done. Thankfully, right after the colonoscopy was done, I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease, so I had a name for my illness. I knew that it wasn't just in my head, because that's another thing that people with Crohn's get told. They're like, oh yeah, it's all in your head, it's not a real illness, you're just, oh yeah, you're just, pretending that it's more serious than it actually is. Like, thankfully, I wasn't told that, but there are other people who are told that their illnesses aren't real, and that, you're not really sick, you don't have an illness, you look too good to be sick. I think that's something that a lot of people have been told, and it's just ludicrous, because when you have Crohn's, like I said, one of the side effects is losing weight, and, when you lose weight, people are like, oh my God, you look so good, you lost however many pounds. And I don't know, they don't understand that the reason why you lost pounds is because you're malnourished. And like, I was so malnourished when they did my blood work. My iron levels and like were so low, and my immune levels were up so high. It was just crazy, man. It was really crazy. And I also had anemia too, because of, constantly losing blood and everything. And also I'm slightly anemic because that's just who I am. But anyways, yeah, it was really like a roller coaster for me. There was so many things going through my head. I was like, oh my God, what if I have colon cancer? What if I have this? What if I have that? And I'm just happy that like after my colonoscopy I got my results. And one more thing that I want to talk about before I wrap up this video, because I'm like chewing your ear off right now, having a colonoscopy in your early 20s is kind of really crazy, because like normally people don't get it until they're 50 years old, unless they have, Crohn's or ulcerative colitis or colon cancer, or they're being screened for colon cancer. It's just really crazy to be the only one in the office that's, younger than 50 years old. Like, the only one going to see your physician, and you're still in college, and you're still so young compared to them. And to learn that you have an illness that's going to be with you for the rest of your life, and that nothing you do is going to cure this illness, and you just have to live with it. it's just really disheartening, and it makes you kind of depressed sometimes and really anxious. But I am very, very happy that I had a fantastic doctor after switching from that doctor that said, oh yeah, you're 20 years old, you're healthy, and like switching to doctors that understand that people my age can be sick, that people my age can have autoimmune diseases, and that our sickness is real and our sickness does exist. But yeah, that was pretty much all of my symptoms. I was just completely fatigued all the time. I had the constant diarrhea, and like it came with blood too, so I kept on losing blood every time I had a bowel movement. And I just lost 15 pounds, but the 15 pounds that I lost were because I was malnourished. It wasn't because I was working out or anything, so I was really weak all the time. So anyways, though, that's pretty much my pre-Crohn's story. If you have any of the same symptoms that I had before I was diagnosed, I really urge you guys to talk to your physician and to get a colonoscopy done and then figure out, what's really going on in there, because even if you're 20 years old, you can get Crohn's disease. It doesn't discriminate based on age, and I definitely want you guys to stay happy and healthy. Even though I have this sickness now, I know that I can keep on going with my life, and I can keep on fighting, and that I'm going to live a long and healthy life in remission. I'm hoping to stay in remission for years to come. My fingers are crossed. Whew. But yeah, anyways, thank you so much for watching my video. I'm sorry that I tend to ramble a little bit. I hope this helped you guys if you're suffering with any of the same things that I was suffering from. And I will talk to you all again soon in my next video.